Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Lucy and we talk about all things to do with allergies. If that's your kind of thing, then do please subscribe, as I'd love you to stick around. Today we're going to be talking about how to choose the right doctor for you. So let's get started. The first thing you need to decide on if you want to see an allergist is whether you want to see an allergist privately or whether you want to see it in the public sector. So obviously this depends on which country you are in. If you're in the UK, obviously we've got the NHS, and if you're in the US, I think you might have to pay. I'll find out about that one. But yes, so I'm, as you can tell from my accent, I'm English. So I know a lot more about the UK system than I do the American. Although I have seen an American allergist and that was kind of okay. So coming back to the NHS. So you've either got, in the UK, you've got the NHS or you have got private. The NHS is obviously free, but you do have a very long wait. Or you can go privately and get some of the stuff done privately and some of the stuff on the NHS, and I will explain that in a minute. So cost-wise, it is a little bit more expensive if you go privately. Normally to see the allergist, it's around £250 for the appointment, and then skin prick tests are extra on top of that. And so I normally budget around £500. It can be a little bit less than that. Sometimes the skin prick tests are around £150, so it depends on how much the allergist charges. But if you budget £500, you should be good to go. In terms of the IgE tests, if you are in England and you get access to the NHS, you can get your allergist to write a letter, and your allergist can then write a letter and you can ask for the IgE blood tests to be done on the NHS, which will save you a ton of money. Next up, how to actually pick the doctor that you want to go see. So I would, before you go see your GP or your whatever your doctor is that you go see, your pediatric doctor or your regular doctor, I would have a list of people that you would like to go and see. And if you are in England and you're on the NHS, normally you can request and say, so long as they're in the kind of same rough area, you can request why you want to see that specific doctor, and most of the time they will allow you to do that. What do you actually need to look for in a doctor is the first question you are asking. That's a very good question. So the first thing I would say is they need to be actively involved in research. And what I mean by that is they need to be either doing research themselves or working closely with somebody who is doing research. The allergists that I have seen that haven't been doing research generally have not been helpful at all, and they have suggested things, but actually the research says something very different. So I would definitely go to somebody who is actively going on research. And if you go on their website, you can normally just search and they'll say if they are doing research. So that's what I'd recommend. If you have a good doctor that you want to recommend, do post it down below. And if anybody want my recommendations for London, I have some very good doctors, allergists that I know in London. So you can post me a comment and I will email you the details about that. Secondly, the next big thing that you want to find out is what kind of testing do they do. So a lot of the big boards recommend a specific type of testing. So the ones, and I'll post down below all the articles, the scientific articles on this, but most big institutions recommend IgE blood tests, skin prick tests, and then also the oral food challenge, which if you're finding a doctor, I would definitely go to one that has the oral food challenge because it was amazing, and I will explain that in a minute. But let me just explain about the other two ones. The IgE blood test is basically a blood test that they take, and that's a really, really good and well recognized one. If you want more information, there is the article down below. And then the skin prick test is basically they just prick you and put a little bit of the allergen on your thing and they see if you respond. I'm scared of needles, but honestly, don't worry, it is really not that bad. If I can do it, you can do it. And then the oral food challenge, which is what I'll explain now, is fantastic. So basically, the IgE and the IgE test and the skin prick test are not a definite. They can sometimes get false positives, and so sometimes you might say, oh well, I think I'm not allergic to this, but your IgE says you are, and your skin prick says you are. They might then say, okay, let's do an oral food challenge, which would basically be when you eat the thing that they think you might be allergic to in front of the doctors, and you sit there the entire day in the hospital and they monitor you, and it's brilliant. Anyway, that for me has been life-changing with my son Oliver, because it's really helped rule out some of the allergies where it came up positive, but actually he can eat it without having any allergic reactions. So I definitely go to a doctor that does that. If your doctor is saying, if the person you're recommending is wanting to do other allergy tests, that like other blood tests or like hair sample tests, don't go to them. For the first doctor I went to, made me do this stupid, bizarre blood test, and it was basically a scam. I then spoke to someone at the Mayo Clinic, and they were like, that's not a real test. So be careful. There are people out there that do that. The final thing that I would recommend is I would generally try and see somebody who's working both in the private sector and the public sector, because I think they've then got a very wide range of different people, and they're seeing people from really diverse different backgrounds, and I think that will really help them as a doctor. And generally, my opinion is I feel more comfortable going to somebody who is seeing people from lots of different perspectives and lots of different areas, because then they've got a wider area of knowledge and wider depth of knowledge. So yeah, I think those are all my best tips for picking an allergist. If you have any recommendations down below or things that you think we should know, post them down below. And if you like this video, do please give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.